But I was on live today, right? And one of my people was like, let's do Wendy Williams. Answer, no. Ding, no. That bitch is far too bitter and far too petty for us to ever take our time, okay? A month's worth of work on Wendy Williams, we already know how petty the bitch is. We already know how oblivious she is to her petty. Bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. You know why? Because the lippies are in. Today's red lips is Michelle Red. Ooh. Ooh. And look at these bangles, y'all. Ooh. Ooh. These are my Layana bangles wrapped in silk. Ooh, you're welcome. And if you are not already a part of our book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes you, can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's talk about, what is this? Brothers be yo, like George ain't that funky kind of hard on you. I'm not sure what part this is. If Standing on the Verge of Getting It On had some of our most uncompromising music up to that point, it was also a high watermark for Pedro Bell. His cover was a work of art in every respect. I told him I wanted a vehicle and a biological entity combined, some sort of living spaceship. What he did with those instructions was staggering. Now, okay, so remember when we talked previously in the last video where I was saying sometimes he did way too much? You know, you don't have to prove to me that you're far out. I can look at you and tell that you're far out. But the way that he described the book cover was a bit jarring to me. So I can see how Funkadelic does so much that it can be off-putting. We toured for that album without Eddie. Let me tell you why he toured without Eddie, okay? Because he was flying somewhere. Okay, and while he was on a plane, the dude started lunching. And we know, if I haven't already said this, that Eddie like to do the PCP, the angel dust. Okay, he on a plane. He lunching. He taking his clothes off, screaming at his aliens in his ear. You know, roaches trying to rip off his eyelid. He is lunching. He is so bad that the U.S. Marshals or the Air Marshals had to come get his ass and take him off the plane. I don't blame them. You can't have me up in the air with this lunatic. Could you imagine the person that was sitting next to him? Oh my God. I'd be like, quick, this right here, you got to do something with this. This can't sit next to me. Okay, and I'm sure he wasn't in the back with the people, with the ninjas, okay, doing ninja stuff, you know. And I'm sure he wasn't on the Southwest, okay, or the Spirit. I'm sure he was on some kind of, you know, hoity-toity airline like the Delta. I ain't messing with your Delta, okay, because the only way I fly now is the Delta, okay? I know you be like, Nay, they be putting niggas off the planes all the time. Say what you want to, but I will never get back on the Southwest ever again, okay? I ain't with the X-Bus in the sky. I ain't with the RTD in the sky. He flipped out and struck an air marshal who arrested him. When the tour stopped in Cleveland, someone came backstage after the show and told us there was a 17-year-old in town who could play Maggot Brain like he had written it. We went to his house and saw him play. He played the whole solo. That was Michael Hampton. A few days later, we contacted his family and asked them if he could come on tour with us. And that went so well that he became part of the permanent band. The problem is that he wanted to have fun. Okay, at first he was a little reserved. I don't know about this psychedelic shit. But then he started hanging out with the bad boys of the parliament. Mike was beside himself at first. Sex and drugs and rock and roll, you know. We had to bring in a guy named Lodge, Mike's cousin, to be a chaperone. Lodge ended up working with us for years in management. Even with a chaperone, Mike couldn't hold off all the temptation, and early on, that got him into some tough spots. Part of the problem was that he ran with the younger half of the band, Eddie and Billy and Tiki. Tiki was always the furthest out on the ledge. So let me tell you, okay? Him and Tiki somewhere dropping acid. We know that acid ain't no good. We know that the acid will tear your stomach up, okay? And next minute you know you in the bathroom shitting for days, okay? But let me tell you what the young dude Mikey used to do, right? He dropping the acid with the dude Tiki. We know Tiki got problems. We know he got drug problems, okay? Because remember, you know, from time to time, Tiki would get missing somewhere, somehow, you know, and the band couldn't find his ass. That's why they had to replace Tiki with the dude Tyrone from time to time. Mike, the young dude, the new young dude, this nigga would drop acid, steal everybody's clothes, and steal everybody's money. That's what he would do when he dropped acid. Hold tight. I'm about to, you know, go to the left a little bit and come back. So everybody knows that I used to be a PO. Let me tell you something. This dude that I had, it was the craziest thing I have ever seen in my life. He was on PCP, okay? When he wasn't on PCP, at his best, he was loved. Let me tell you what he would do when he be on that buzz net, okay? He would go on a stealing spree, just like the dude Mike, okay? I told you, that ninja got high, stole clothes and money. People waking up the next day with no clothes because you know that, you know, some of them drugs make you take all your clothes off because you be hot as shit, okay? So I be having so many probation officer stories, y'all would die laughing. Y'all would laugh up underneath the table. But anyway, this dude right here, every time he was back on the bullshit because he would catch a new charge for either writing bad checks or stealing money from the establishment that he worked. I'm like, Joe, you back on them dippers? No, yeah, you be lying too when you be back on them dippers. In 1975 came the second Parliament album, Chocolate City. Now, I know y'all be like, Nay, you talk about DC too much. I love DC. I miss y'all. I do. But when you get married, you go with, you know, your partner. And plus, she's the breadwinner, so you follow the breadwinner. Okay, but at any rate, one day sitting around the house, I heard someone on the news saying that Washington, D.C. was 80% black. You hear that? You hear that? Okay, 80% black. It was truly Chocolate City. And love bugs, those of us that are from D.C. that are here, I never knew that the nickname Chocolate City came from Parliament. Or, you know, George Clinton. A little light went on in my head. Damn, I thought we got the vote. By the rules of any state democracy, we've always won. And on the heels of that came other thoughts. Sane democracy. That was the blackest black comedy. I started jotting down slogans like, you don't need the bullet when you have the ballot. I kept taking notes and I kept making jokes. And I ended up imagining it forward all the way to the White House. They still call it the White House, but that's a temporary condition too. By the end of the first few pages, I had signed and populated an entire imagery federal government. President Muhammad Ali, Education Secretary Richard Pryor, Arts Secretary Stevie Wonder, and so on. So let me say this, right? I think our views on this video isn't as high as they could be because I feel like George Clinton sometimes do too much, even with the way that he writes it. And I know in his mind, this is the way it is, but keep it simple, stupid. You know what I'm saying? I think because he likes to add in so many different words, you know, not that the words are not cohesive with the message. It's just, I think that it's kind of off-putting sometimes. I'm just being honest about the book, okay? You know that we're doing a recap and a review, okay? I just think that George Clinton in this book sometimes makes it difficult to, absorb because of the wording. On the other hand, the record was a landmark for how it expanded our sound. And much of that expansion came courtesy of Bootsy Collins. His masterdom with his rubber band was still a few years off, but Chocolate City was really his breakout record. As the musicians found their voice, the writers and producers worked out a band strategy. In general, Bootsy and I laid down the basic tracks, and then Bernie revised and extended it. Other songs were more conservative, genre numbers basically. Now, let me tell you something that was very, very, very profound, okay? When it came down to Chocolate City, he was very aware of what the music could do to him. He even mentioned how he was afraid for Bob Marley. Bob Marley's revolutionary lyrics were straightforward, okay? And we know, especially during that time, when you speak about the wrongdoings of America, you will be dealt with, okay? George Clinton was very well of that. So he made it very, very theatrical and very, very comedic in order for the powers that be to not take it, absorb it, and say, we got to get that nigga. For those of us who knew, for those of us who understood, we knew what they were saying. But the squares and the lanes, they just laughing. Every Parliament album had a Funkadelic twin. In 1975, we delivered our babies. See, the way that he worded things, if you're not on board, then you'll find it to be too much. Okay, now I'm on board, but I'm always next to, the edge of the ship ready to jump off. Okay, just in case that thing get too heavy. Okay, us Libras, we don't like our shit too heavy. We like ours simple. Chocolate City came out in March, and then a month later, Funkadelic put out Let's Take It to the Stage. When we made that record, we were in the process of extricating ourselves from Westbound and moving over to Warner Brothers. I wasn't done with Funkadelic by any means, but our time on Westbound wasn't working for us anymore. It wasn't financially profitable. We would just make a record and Armin would put it out. We didn't get tour support really, or he wasn't a creative partner in the way that Neil was. Our attorney, Ina Maybach, along with our manager, Charlie Basalan, started looking for a new deal for Funkadelic and found one at Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers was, ironically enough, the label that had parted ways with Casablanca just as Up for the Downstroke was coming out. Leaving Westbound wasn't very complicated. We agreed to finish up with Armin, at which point we'd be free to release new Funkadelic material on Warner Bros. Let me tell you what makes George Clinton a good guy, to me. Now, he got his issues because we're going to talk about what Rickety James said compared to what he said, okay, later on. But what he said was, a lot of times when people are on their final assignment with a label, they just throw anything out there. They don't have no passion behind it. Parliament, George Clinton, Funkadelic, who is Westbound with? Oh, it's Funkadelic, right? So George Clinton said that he put his heart in it wholeheartedly. He was not going to put out anything that was going to be less than stellar. So although it was supposed to be their final work with Westbound, it was a good piece of music. And then, now let me move forward. Now, I just said that he was a good guy, but he's also petty. That's a petty motherfucker. Don't forget, you Cancers, a good heart. Y'all got some good ass hearts, okay? But y'all petty be on 92,000. I was live today, y'all. I'm going to come back. I'm going to laugh and then I'm going to come back, right? But I was on live today, right? And one of my people was like, let's do Wendy Williams. Answer, no. Ding, no. That bitch is far too bitter, and far too petty for us to ever take our time. Okay, a month's worth of work on Wendy the Williams. We already know how petty the bitch is. We already know how oblivious she is to her petty. What George Clinton would do is he would take jabs at other artists. Let me tell you what he would do. Petty motherfucker. James Brown would be called the godmother instead of the godfather when he taking his little shots on stage. That's wrong. How you gonna mess with the man's masculinity on? We know that he, smoke crack and beat women, but we don't know that he wear panties and heels. Okay, so how you gonna call the man the godfather of soul, the godmother of soul? Okay, you petty. Rufus, they called Sloofus. We even called out earth, hot, and air, and no fire. We would end up doing that more and more in Funkadelic, keeping up a line of patter about other pop cultures, taking good-natured shots at the competitors. That's what you call it, good-natured shots. I called it petty. That's right, I said it. Petty. Now, one day, we were at Hollywood Sound in Los Angeles cutting Get Off Your Ass and Jam. Shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam. Hey, shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam. Let me tell you what happened. This is the greatest story ever told in regards to this book, okay? Matter of fact, this is a pretty good story, period. They're in the studio doing shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam, okay? They take a smoke break. They said this little young dude, he was a white boy that you can clearly tell was a junkie, okay? A shooting dope junkie. He came into the studio, okay, and was like, hey, I can play some music for y'all, but you gotta pay me $25. I can play the guitar, I'm telling you, I'm real good. Now, George Clinton was taken aback, like, what? You want me to pay you $25, nigga? We don't know you. But you know George Clinton, watch that nigga. Okay, he a Cancer, Leo Cusper. Watch that ninja. They say, okay, boy, come on in, right? The dude goes out front, get his guitar. His guitar wasn't even in a guitar case, okay? He comes in. They hook everything up. They're doing shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam, okay? They said, they begin to play. The white boy starts playing like a madman. The rest of the crew is astounded. You hear me? Astounded. I stopped after reading this story and listened to it, and I was like, God damn. The guitar player on shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam is this junky little boy, okay? George Clinton was so impressed with the young boy, the young addict's performance that instead of getting him $25, they gave him $50. The young boy took his $50 and walked out the door. George Clinton said the reason why the young dude is not credited is because they didn't know the white dude's name. He just disappeared. They never saw him again. They didn't know nothing about him. Now, George, you have been known to have some shenanigans with you, okay? Before you let him walk out the door, you could have asked the young boy his name, okay? Probably you didn't want to pay his ass. Now, George Clinton, bless your heart. You have some goodness in you. But nigga, you got some foolery with you too. But at any rate, the boy who played was a 17-year-old white junkie coming in there looking for his next fix that made a bargain with George Clinton. I think Eddie was there too and said, hey, look, if you pay me, I can play for y'all for $25. George Clinton thought it was going to be a joke. Okay? Go ahead, man. Found out that the dude was a guitar beast. I'm telling y'all, listen to that song. Amazing. In 1975, along with Chocolate City and Let's Take It to the Stage, we birthed a triplet as a slight delay. The record was called Mothership Connection. It arrived in December 1975, and it quickly changed the landscape for us all. The title song not only became part of the vernacular, but also the name of the spinoff label at Casablanca. Cecil Holmes ran it and signed artists like the New York City Players, who would soon be known as Cameo. With Chocolate City under our belt, Bootsy and I went into the studio and laid down track after track. In Chocolate City, we had imagined a black man in the White House. That would take 30 years for that to come true. For Mothership Connection, we went even further afield and imagined a black man in space. Space was a place, but it was also a concept, a metaphor for being way out there. Now, you also don't want to forget that space is synonymous with drugs too. Okay, you know, an old DC saying, we would say, well, I still say it, Kirkin. When we say, oh, that nigga was Kirkin, okay, that means that he was out there, right? And Kirk came from Captain Kirk. Also, whenever we would see, you know, addicts back in the day, we would use the term "beat me up, Scotty." So back home, crazy behavior and using drugs was synonymous with space. Mothership Connection refined what we were doing on Chocolate City. For starters, we were leaning more heavily on brass. Horns had always been a part of soul music, but they were all over rock and roll in the mid-70s. The third major song on Mothership first occurred to me when I heard the David Bowie song Fame. Fame! That's my, oh, that joke be hitting, y'all. That joke be hitting. Like, oh, for you young people that are here, let me tell you something. That clout thing, I don't know why, I don't know where that word came from. I don't know why they say it, but it wasn't clout for us. It was fame, because you want to be famous, okay? Now y'all be like, oh, she chasing clout. Oh, she a clout chaser. Whatever that means, I don't know. But what we said was fame. Oh, they want to be famous. I don't know about that clout. Y'all keep saying it.
Fame, which itself is a James Brown-styled performance. We had a new drummer, Jerome Braley, who had come over from the Chambers Brothers. And he was with me when Fame came on the radio. Remember that beat for me, I said. He did, and that's one of the reasons that he got a co-writing credit on that song. Back in the studio, we fired up the beat and built it back into Give Up the Funk. Tear the roof off the sucker.
Tear the roof off the sucker. Tear the roof off the sucker. Tear the roof off the sucker. Hey, tear the roof off the sucker. Tear the roof off the sucker. Tear the roof off the sucker. For the cover photo of Mothership Connection, I wanted a spaceship. Who doesn't? Charlie Basseline went straight to one of the prop stores in Los Angeles, and the next thing you know, we had the actual ship from the day the earth stood still. A classic sci-fi movie from the early 50s. It was your basic flying saucer, classic round, little door near the top, and we took a series of pictures sitting on it or near it. And there it was, the first fully mature Parliament record. It came out in December of 1975. Now, if you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, and subscribe, because it is so important to our success here on the YouTube. Now remember this, the same people that you meet on the way up will always be the same people that you meet on the way down. My naysayers, my patron loves. You babies, have a good one.